My name is Chantel Sings. I am the morning show radio host along with Freddie Bell and Shed G on 89.9 KMOJ radio. And I'm also a singer and a songwriter. I also have a film crew here that's going to be recording a documentary or a reality show anyway that we're shopping to like the OWN network and VH1 for women who are balancing careers and also balancing being a single mom. I'm a single mom of one, he's 13. I'm also a 9-year ovarian cancer survivor, so if anybody is in here that has cancer or knows someone who survived it, I just want to congratulate you on that.
All right.
Right.
That's what we got to do. I guess I'll start with I am the daughter of the Most High, the God I serve. And I was the gift from him to Mabel and Solon Ellis. I was born and raised in St. Paul, Minnesota. I grew up in the Summer University area. I am the director of the Check Yourself Health and Wellness Center, which is the home of the signature program, the Check Yourself Crew, the best peer education crew in the country. I've just been incredibly blessed to, first of all, to be asked to just come here, and I sit here and I know she's going to introduce herself, but I need to say that it is an honor to even be considered to sit on a panel with you in terms of women with leadership, and I just need to say that. You know, I'm trying to teach my young people to be always respectful of the elders and the things and the people that have come before them, and I say to you, thank you. I appreciate
it. My name is Josie Johnson. I am an old resident of Minnesota. I moved here in 1956, long before many of your parents were born. I've been blessed all my life with an opportunity to share what I know, what I can do. So I've had the great fortune of being busy in Minnesota and being able to be of assistance and service to my people. That has meant more to me than anything I know, to be able to be of service. And what I think is important for us today is to really think about that, because we are, in my judgment, at a time when it's critical that we remember who we are and from whence we've come, and pay attention to the things that are going on around us. Because the world, my friends, is changing. And it's becoming a world that requires of us a sense of hope, calling on the faith of our ancestors, and to remember that all things are possible. Although, I must admit, at my age, I sometimes wonder if indeed I will live long enough to see that hopeful dream that we all had, and many of us still have. I'm honored to be here. I have known this program for a very long time, and I'm happy it's in the Twin Cities. It makes the attendance and the travel really possible. So thank you very much for being here, and I hope if you have questions you think your elder can answer, I'll be happy to try. So thank you very much.
Well, we thank you for being here too. You guys are all an inspiration, and I look up to all three of you ladies. I want to start by asking the panelists, what factors have contributed to your success as an African American woman?
Should I go first? Okay. It's like I'll be going first the whole time. That's fine. You know what? I believe that my determination was probably the main thing. And first of all, I'm blessed. I mean, without God, I would not be here. I've had a couple different times where I've probably wouldn't have been here. And that first time was when I had cancer when I was 23 years old. I'm 32 years old now, and so I feel like without my faith and without my family, I probably wouldn't be here, because during that time in my life, I was very lost, I was very depressed, I was very confused, very frustrated, I was angry. And I had an auntie of mine who told me, you know, that God was not blessing me. I wrote a song about it called Solid Ground, and I thought that it was a curse. The first line in the song is I thought that my cancer was a curse. And she told me it wasn't a curse, and I realized that it was more of it changed my life in so many ways. You know, after that situation, I realized that I obviously am here for a reason. I have a job to do. And I always, since I was a little girl, I always wanted to be in radio. I always wanted to be a singer. And I feel like that was the way that God gave me to be able to communicate my struggles and my thoughts, my feelings, and everything that I've been through. Just I'm from Chicago originally. I grew up in projects in Chicago, and we didn't have much. And for me to be here today, and I have a 13-year-old son, I can provide for him. I'm a single mom. I feel like a single woman for the most part. But I think that the fact that I had faith, I had family, I had hope. Sometimes you lose that. You feel like it's the end when you go through things that are just so much bigger than you, and you feel like there's no way out. You feel like there's never going to be an end to the struggle. I mean, it started off with cancer, and then a month after that, a week before my birthday, which is actually, my birthday was 4 weeks ago, a friend of mine was stabbed and killed, and I was a witness in the murder. So that happened right after the cancer. I was literally 2 weeks out of the hospital, and you know, the killers, they wanted to kill me, but they didn't kill me. I don't know why. To this day, I know that I said a small prayer, and they left the house. And probably an hour later, the police found him dead. So I feel like my faith kept me strong enough to even pray in that small room that night. And then from there, it was just a snowball effect of things that were happening that were just going down here for my life. So I feel like if I was not faithful enough, if I didn't believe in myself enough, if I didn't stand strong, if I gave up, then I wouldn't be where I am today. I went from on KMOJ, I started off on the Back in the Day show, which is 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Sundays. Now I'm on the morning show, which is #1 in any market, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday. So I didn't seek out any of the positions. They all sought me out, which to me is a blessing. It just says that everything that I stand for, everything that I believe in, how I carry myself, how I how I communicate with others, professionalism, all these things are a factor in success. I believe you have to have the whole package. I think everything from as small as just being polite, to being educated, to being aware, all of these things to me have made me who I am today. And I have so much further to go. I think my humility is a part of it as well, because I'm not, to me, other people look and say, oh, you're so successful, I look up to you, as you said, and I appreciate that. But I have so much other stuff that I want to do. To me, I'm just like, I haven't done nothing. You know, some days I wake up like, I'm not doing enough. I'm just not doing enough. And so it keeps me driven. It keeps me wanting to do more. It keeps my standards to a place where I feel like if I continue to, create new standards, then I have no reason to give up. You know what I mean? I can keep moving and keep going. So I would say a lot of factors: my faith, being hopeful, my son. And that's God. My son are just right. God first, then my son next. Because without him, I don't know if I would have enough to work for. You know what I mean? It's hard being a single mom, but somebody has to raise these kids. Somebody has to show them that you can be somebody. You can really make something of your life. You can make something of yourself. And what we see around us in music and all of the negativity and all the sexuality with women and business, we can't be classy. We can't be covered up. We have to be overly sexual to be successful. I don't believe that, and I don't want my son to believe that. So there's a lot of different things. Community, doing this today, this keeps me, I'm honored to be here and honored to be on the panel with these women. So it's a lot of different things I take from different pieces in my life and what I see around me that keeps me going every day. So I would say that would be my answer. Thank you.
There was a time when I would hear sometimes people say this and think, oh God, that's just so cliche. But I say to you that, first of all, because God is good and He's merciful and He's gracious, that He would even keep His hands on a wretch like me. And I say that because everything that appears is not always what is. And sometimes you'll see some people at their absolute physical best, and you don't know really what is in their heart or what their journey has been. And so when I used to hear the old people say stuff like, you know, I'm standing on the shoulders of the ancestors, and I thank God for the ancestors. I said, God, the ancestors. And then that I was blessed enough to be born into the family that I was. Incredible parents. Just, I mean, regardless to whatever we were doing, good, bad, ugly, nonsense, whatever, just refused to let go of their children. Just kept their hands on their kids. As my mom used to say, the reason why my knees are black, because I stay on them. She said, because I got to be the praying. Y'all ain't got enough sense to be praying for yourself. You got a praying mama. And really, a lot of what has brought us safely across is those praying mothers, those praying grandmothers and praying aunties, that praying community. I grew up in a community that was so incredible. I tell people I've traveled all over the world, and I have never seen anything like the Twin Cities community. I was fortunate enough to grow up with the teaching of Mahmoud, El Khati, Bobby Hickman, Katie McGuat, this lady, just the people in your community. And at the time, when you're young, you don't even know what's happening. You don't even realize that they're pouring into you the way that they are. And what happens is if, as my mother would say, and just keep on living, if you just keep on living, and as you get older and wiser, and you begin to grow, and you begin to look back over the journey, because the journey haven't always been straight. The road was crooked. I participated in many things that my parents, that I didn't grow up and thinking were all right. You know what I mean? I always used to say that when I started getting older, I was a seasoned child that grew into a seasoned adult, which means there was a whole lot of salt and pepper and a whole lot of stuff going on in my life. And I loved those streets at one time. And I loved fashion, and I loved fast, and I loved music, and I loved a lot of things that sometimes the road, when you're traveling on that, is not always what I would say the most positive. It can be, but there's so many negative encounters that you have on those roads. But that foundation, that stuff that was poured into me, being able to run up to Inner City Youth League and different things like that as a child, is what keeps you from crossing sometimes over that imaginary line. And I just thank God for that line. I thank God for that community. I thank God for the parents, the ancestors. And let me say this to you fathers. It is so important that you have conversations with your daughters. I had an incredible father that kept it 100 with me, as the kids would say. He talked to me and he told me about life. And I know people, sometimes I've repeated things, conversations that me and my father had, and people have looked, and people might think in some ways, wow, your dad said that to you? That's deep that you had that conversation with your dad. We love and worship our fathers. We need to hear about men and sex and education and community and family and all that. Girls need to have those conversations with their dads when they're, and especially healthy conversations. Because yes, but we the women, we rock, we run the world and everything because we're the givers of life. And really, if you educate a mother and you educate a village. But those men, and this is my belief, God, my position is a helpmate. I have no problem with the men being in their rightful positions. Because if you treat me and love me the way you're supposed to be, it will be the way that God loves the church. And we know what that is in terms of scripture. So that means you're holding me in the most high position. And so if we do to me, these are things that I have grown over a course of years to know to be true, because that wasn't always my thinking. When I sat in the position of, 19, 20, 21, I had other thoughts about things. But as I grow, spiritually, I have a better understanding of my upbringing and why certain things had to happen and why my journeys had to be what they were to prepare me for the position that God has for me today. And I say to the young people that are in the room, just as you did for us, I hope that I do for them, and that your well-being is my purpose. And that's, I want you to know that. And that's what that's all about.
I want to share a little bit about my life and my opportunities. I was born in San Antonio, Texas in October of 1930. My parents, my mom and dad, had completed college in a black historic school right outside of Houston, and it still is, Prairie View College. Prairie View is one of our old historic colleges that now has moved more into the technology area. My father grew up in a family of 12. His father was a Baptist preacher, and my grandmother, it is reported, was a Cherokee Indian. My dad, when he completed college, wanted to go to law school. Remember, he graduated in Texas in 1926. Well, none of the schools in the South accepted black students, let alone black graduate students. So because he couldn't go to law school, my dad was employed by the Southern Pacific Railroad. That was the railroad company when I grew up. My dad took a job as a dining car waiter. And what he did was to organize the dining car waiters during the same time that A. Philip Randolph. How many of you know that name? Mm-hmm. Young brothers, you need to study about A. Philip Randolph.
Yes, ma'am.
He was the person who organized what was called sleeping car waiters. And that was to try and get treatment, correct treatment of employees in those parts of the railroad company. I grew up with a mother who graduated in 1929, and my mother graduated with a degree in social work and education. She taught us the love of children and people and sharing what she knew. She organized nursery schools. She helped mothers learn to do, as you were saying, the right thing about their children, to help them. We never grew up feeling better than anyone else, nor less than anyone else. It was sort of the expression we have now of, but for the sake of God go I. So my parents were busy all the time, doing things that were reflected in the community. My dad helped organize the Urban League in Houston, was a member of the YMCA. As a child, we used to say, when we'd gather together at night for dinner, if my father wasn't there when we sat down, we'd say, "What night is it?" Because we knew he was at some meeting doing something on a particular night. I've been blessed in that I grew up in an environment of love, protection, security. The people around me made me feel I was able to do anything.
Yes.
They protected my back, my friends, and I knew that I was loved. My sense is that we must, as a people, remember that. We have survived because we are loved, not only by our immediate family, but by our community. When I went away to college, I was able to grow up in an academic environment of people who were scholars, who studied us as a people and knew about us, activists, Thurgood Marshall, Martin Luther, of course we're the same age, Martin Luther King and I, so he wasn't there, but his spirit. Artists who are now very famous, musicians. The man who created our Black national anthem was from Fisk University. When I left Fisk and we came to Minnesota, I was lucky to be able to be engaged in the things that mattered to us as a people in Minnesota. So I was able to become a lobbyist for our fair housing. When we moved to Minnesota, Black people lived in restricted areas. We didn't dare go northeast. That was a part of the city that we did not travel to. We were in a section of South Minneapolis and a section of North Minneapolis. And unless you wanted housing in some other community, you selected those communities. Now, for me, I think that's a very important thing because it's part of that village concept. But what was critical was the freedom of people to move where they wanted to move. You didn't have to be in another community to know who you are and to appreciate our struggle. But I was able to lobby for fair housing, fair employment practices, was able to work with schools, and I'm sharing this, and I hope you take it the way I'm trying to share it, is that we as a people have to share what we know. We have to be engaged in the struggle of our people, and we have to fight for rights, justice, equality of opportunity. And you must never, ever forget that. I had 3 daughters. I have 2. My eldest died in Ethiopia. She was the chief of staff to a congressman from Texas who was chair of a subcommittee on hunger. And this was a time when Ethiopia and Somalia were fighting. They went to Ethiopia to check on the conditions of the mothers and the children there. Their plane crashed in Ethiopia. I have 2 other daughters, one who is a lawyer, just graduated from law school, and is working, following the tradition of her family, for nothing, almost, in a public service company, organization. And my younger daughter, my youngest granddaughter, who is studying photography and Black history. She goes throughout her community taking pictures of us, my brothers and sisters, and then looking at the history of what those pictures tell. I have 2 great-granddaughters now, and I feel really blessed to be in that kind of position of watching what my parents did, the love that they gave. My grandmother, who worked 7 days a week, as a drugstore manager, and her husband was a pharmacist, 7 days a week. Never was there a day that we didn't work as a family. Work is important. Work directed at positive outcomes is important. Your time is important. You have to keep, in my judgment, our focus. Who are we? What are we about? What can I do? Keep that in front of you, because the world will pull it away from you and will make you think that you're free. One of the things I think we have to remember as a people is that we're not free. We're not free from what slave owners taught America. They taught America that we were inferior, that we were less than human, and on many plantations, my young friends, they sent veterinarians to care for our ancestors rather than doctors. And they taught us, in some cases, to believe because we were in the big house and not in the field, that we were better than.
Separation.
We have to be really mindful, careful of that, because the largest system believes that they are superior to us. Supremacy is a guiding force in our society. And when you stop to look at the treatment the most powerful man in the world receives, our president, how he's treated, that sense of supremacy is so deeply etched in the fabric of American life that it disturbs them to see him do so well. And they don't want him to do well. And so they have stopped. One thing, and I will stop, there are two things I never thought. One, that I would live long enough to see a black person elected president. That happened, right? The other thing that I didn't realize was how deeply etched in the fabric of American life the sense of superiority and the willingness on the part of the system to take America down rather than to have a successful black president. And when you see the decisions that are made, and I want you to pay attention, read the paper, read it, listen to radio stations that may give you news, talk to each other so that you know you're not crazy and you're not the only one who thinks and feels a particular way. But when you see a society that would rather bring America down than to have a successful president, black president, I never thought I'd live long enough to see that. And I guess I didn't realize how deeply etched supremacy is in the fabric of American life. Be aware of it. Think about it. Be conscious of it. Talk to each other. Talk to each other. We don't do enough of that. And as your elder, one who doesn't understand technology, I try, but I don't. That's very dangerous. We don't talk to each other. We text. We abbreviate things. We have short-term ways of talking. We don't spell. One of the things our parents taught, I believe, and tried, and black teachers, I don't care what they say about them, black teachers tried to teach us to be the best we could be. You've got to return to that. You gotta talk. not abbreviation and words that I have no idea what they mean. When my grandchildren send me text messages, I have to say, please, what did you mean by that? I'm urging you, talk together. Talk to your elders. Talk to your grandparents. Talk to people in your neighborhood. Be loving. Be supportive. Be informational. Know your history. And know that you can do anything you want to do, provided you want to do it. And we must do that, because the world is trying to eliminate us, and we can't let that happen. Forgive the old lady's long speech, but when I'm around my youth, it is so important that you know your history. I maintain that if our people knew their history, they wouldn't have to have any kind of regulations. We would know how to behave. Our young men would not kill each other if they knew their history. And they would reflect their ancestors, how they carried themselves, the pride they had, the hard work. All we need to do is to know our history, because I think that's the strongest thing that guides us, keeps us moving. When I come back next year to the next conference, I would like to hear about what you've done between now and then to protect us as a people and to keep us moving forward in this struggle for freedom. Hang in there. Hang in there. I love the expression of the Sounds of Blackness, because they say that things will happen, things will change, and I believe that. Thank you, young people.
That was just pure knowledge, and I really hope that the younger people in here took in all of this, because just a few weeks ago I went out for my friend's birthday. I haven't been going out because I've been working, and I come out, I'm standing there talking to a friend. I see about 5 females standing in a group ready to fight. And honestly, I wanted to take them and just hug them. I'm like, it's not worth it. If you guys knew what our ancestors had to go through back in the day to love each other, and they were separated and they had to fight for their lives, and now you guys are fighting over a guy or over who has the best weave in their hair or the best stilettos on, it's not worth it. You know, learn who you are, love who you are, and grow. That's why I'm here right now, because I want to grow and I want to know other people. And I just appreciate all the messages. As I was writing down notes, you know. I just, you know, the guys in here, recently I had to break up a fight with 6 guys. Now, listen, girl, you luckily I was able to get to it before it got too physical. I know how guys are, like they'll do all the talking and, you know, get in each other's faces and whatnot. So I was able to take the biggest guy and push him. I'm like, you're not about to do this right now. I'm not getting hit because I don't want to file workman's comp right now. So, and I'm just like, why are you guys fighting? I'm like, is this gang related? Like, this isn't working. Like, you're on a tribal land right now. You don't want this to go down. Like, you don't want to deal with this police department here. You don't want to have to deal with anything. It's not worth it. And I just think we need to realize the stuff that happens, is it really worth it? When we're in conflict with each other, instead of going at it in the wrong way, think about it, talk it out. You know, when we have our friends and we're arguing about something, there's no point in fighting them or cussing them out and calling them names. Sit down and talk about it. Text messages get you nowhere, because text messages can be perceived any type of way. If you pick up the phone and call somebody, which I've been doing lately, they'll know I'm concerned about you. I was upset when you said this through the text message. Let's talk about it. And you know, you guys just I'm up here crying, so I'm not going to say anything else. So I'm going to ask the next question, and I want to know what advice you can give to the people who desire to be in leadership roles.
Good question. That is a good question. You know, I feel like as a woman in leadership, it's important to understand as the women in the room that when you're shooting for a top spot, it can be doubly hard. I mean, I've witnessed it myself. Most of probably 90% of all the people that I've worked with over 10 years in the entertainment industry have been men. And I deal with everything from sexual harassment to, you know, just disrespectful remarks, to touching, to kissing, to licking on the neck. I mean, they do it all. They say things, they're nasty, they're dirty. And I have to hold my head up high through the whole thing. I have to continue to move forward. I have to show that I'm professional. I have to show that I'm not going to sleep with you just to get this part or get this role or get this opportunity. And I think that it's important to know who you are. I think to get to a leadership position, you have to know who you are. I'm sure Obama knew who he was. Michelle knew who she was. I mean, you have to know, you know, what your goal is. You know, you have to know what road you're going to take. You really can't be all over the board. It's not possible to be successful or to even get anywhere in life if you're all over the board. You really have to stop. I think, you know, when they say sometimes God wants you to just stop and be still. And I think every situation that happened to me where I was down, I just got over pneumonia probably like a month ago, and I was out for about 2 weeks. I had walking pneumonia. I didn't know I had it, but then when I found out I had it, I didn't want to go to the doctor to find out what was going on with the chest pain in me because I'm a cancer survivor. So I'm thinking in my mind the cancer came back. So I'm just like, dude, I'm not going to the doctor. I'm steady trying to go to work. I'm walking upstairs taking breath like, whoo, how old am I? Am I 32 or 42? And so I just didn't want to go. But I just say, you know what? I prayed about it. I prayed so hard that day. I called my auntie. She's like my spiritual advisor. She's like my mom, my sister. She's my friend. I called. I said, look, auntie, I need your help. You got to pray for me. I don't want to go to the doctor. I don't want to find out that I got cancer again because it comes back in the lymph nodes. It comes back in your chest when you have ovarian cancer. And she said, you know what? I want you to sit down. I want you to get on your knees, and I want you to hold your hands up like this, like you're cupping whatever it is, and I want you to give it to God. I want you to continue to take it from your chest and give it to God. Give it to God. And at first, you know, you have to humble yourself to do stuff like that. So I stopped. I hung up the phone. I got on my knees, and I did that. I was crying. I was praying. I was just like, God, whatever it is, you have it. You take it. Make me strong, God. Please just let me go to this hospital, find out what's going on. And I promise you, at that moment, I got up, and I got dressed, and I drove myself to the doctor. And she said, I don't have a clue what's wrong with you. I don't see anything. I don't see anything in your lungs. There's no fluid. There's no nothing. I don't know what's wrong with you. So she was like, what would you like to do? I'm like, well, you the doctor. What are you asking? I would like you to take this pain away. I say, you know what, let's do an x-ray. Let's do a chest x-ray, and let's go from there. So we do the x-ray. She was like, CAT scan and all of that. I'm just like, I don't want to do all that. So we did an x-ray. She called me 2 hours later, you have pneumonia. I was like, oh, thank God. But I'm still sick. I still can't breathe, can't walk. But I really had to humble myself and say, you know what, everything is not in our hands. Like, there is a higher power. You know, everything that I've been through, I had no control over that. All of my success, I had no control over that. All of my failures, all of my sicknesses, everything that happened to me, that was out of my control. It was all experience. It was all learning experiences. It was all for me to stop and think, why did this happen? So I'm down with pneumonia for a whole week. I can't do nothing but lay in the bed. I hate laying in the bed. I don't even like sleeping. I like to be out and about. I'm always doing something. And so I'm like, I guess I got to get my Netflix going. So I got the Netflix going. I'm down for a week. And then I'm just thinking, it was my time to just stop for a minute because my life is always on the go. I'm always doing things. So I just had to stop and just think, you know, what's my next move? I started to write down goals. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have to write it down. Sometimes you got so much stuff going on in your head and you just can't figure out what you want to do next. And when I was a little girl, I used to write goals all in little journals and diaries. I used to always just write everything out. Get my license. Get my license. I wanted to graduate. I wrote that down. Move out of my dad's house. I wrote everything down. I wrote it all down and I did it. Everything I said I was going to do, I did it. And I was all about career. That's all I thought about. Was I'm going to travel, I'm going to do this, I'm going to sing, I'm going to be on the radio. And then I found out I was pregnant at 17. So I was like, oh, great. So now I can't do nothing. So then, I went through with it, but then I still went to college. After I had my son, took a year off, went back to school, graduated, got my degree. And every little thing, everything that I wanted to do when I was a 10-year-old little girl, I promise you, everything from radio to singing to acting to everything to doing what I'm doing now, I'm doing it in my life now at this very moment, and I'm so grateful for that because I don't think that it's a lot of people who don't get to live their dreams, but the point of that was that I focused. I had a goal, and I got sidetracked. Some of the stuff didn't happen the way I wanted to happen. A lot of things didn't happen in the time that I wanted to happen, but I didn't give up on it. All I did was stop and regroup, pray about it, and just get back out there. Stop, regroup, pray, get back out there. That's just that's my routine. Sometimes you gotta stop, and sometimes I'm rebellious. I don't want to stop, and that's when God say, okay, give her pneumonia so she can sit down, and then I can't do nothing but stop. So I just think that if you want to have, and I wouldn't say that I'm where I want to be, but I have no doubt that God has a plan. It's not about if it's gonna happen for me, it's when it's gonna happen for me. So I just have to be patient. People say, oh, you shouldn't be in Minnesota, you should be in LA, you should be in New York, you should be here, you should be there. Why don't you do this? Why haven't you done that? But I have to say this to people, and I say it to myself. I'm exactly where God wants me to be. Right. If I was supposed to be in New York, then why am I not in New York? If I was supposed to be in LA, why am I not in LA? And being a single mom is not that easy. And people don't understand being a single mom is tough. Not just because I want to say this. Not being a single mom. I don't know if there's any single moms in here, but being a single mom is not as tough it is just because my son's 13 and I've raised him to be very independent. He's very self-sufficient. He can cook his own food. He can bake. He can do all that stuff himself. He's probably at home cooking right now. But I've raised him that way because it's just he and I in the home. So I have to teach him to be a man. I have to do that. And it's hard when I think about the fact that his dad is not doing his job. I have to do his job and my job. So it's not just about doing the job itself, it's the mentality I have of being angry and frustrated. Like, why am I doing this every day? Why do I have to drop him off at football? Then I have to go to work, then I have a show, then I'm back at 2 in the morning, then I have to pick him up. I need help, you know what I mean? So it's not just about doing it, making his food or buying his clothes. That's easy. That's the easy part. My son, I'm so blessed and so grateful. He is a smooth sailing. If he was here right now, he'd be sitting right there just hanging out. He's so easygoing. But it's just the fact that I have to change my mentality of feeling frustrated and upset and stressed out because it wears on him. And then it's like, I can't be a full mom. I can't be the mother I need to be because I'm so upset. I'm so angry. So I have to stop and just take a breather and say, hey, it's doable. People do it all the time. There's women that got 5 kids. I couldn't do it. I'm telling you right now, hey kids, I'll see y'all 3 weeks. but I mean, I just think for that question, it really, I think the biggest key to success and to finding your success and finding who you are, you really have to stop and think about who you are. What are your values? What are your morals? What are your dreams? What are your goals? You have to know you. And this lovely lady was asking me about single moms who become pregnant early and at a teenage, and then they continue to have kids. I have one son. I'm 32, and he's 13. I could have had another one and another one and another. And her thing is, what's the mentality with these young women? Why do they keep having kids and they can't provide for them? The men are not in their lives. They can't raise them. They don't know anything about being parents. And I thought about it. I can't do that. I don't want to be struggling with 3, 4, 5 kids alone. So if I have another child, I'm going to be married. I don't want to feel like I'm just having babies because I can do it. I can do a lot of stuff, you know what I mean? So I just think that you really have to think about who you are, what do you want for your life, because every action, there's a reaction. Everything you do, there's a consequence for it. If you do bad, what you put out is what you get back. If you're just rude and ignorant and disrespectful to people, your life is going to be like that. I have 5, okay, I get 6, okay, I have a lot of sisters. Okay, all over the nation. But my sisters, my oldest sister, I got 2 older sisters. One older than me, I think she's 34. The other one is in like 38 or something. But these 2, these specific ones, have rough lives. And they have really rough lives because they gave my mom a hard time when she was raising them up. She was a single mom. My mom had her first child at 14. I don't know how at 14, I don't even know. I was probably playing Super Nintendo at 14. I was not thinking about having kids. And she had her first one at 14, and it was a rough path for her. She found her mom dead at 10. When she was 10 years old, she found her mom dead. So my mom never grew up. She was always in that little girl, mentality, and she still is, which is crazy because I don't have that leadership from my mom to raise me. So everything that I've done, I was raised part of my life with my dad. So everything that I feel like I've accomplished and I've done in my life, I kind of had to self-train and self-educate. It wasn't a whole lot of people, like these lovely women, they've had families that help raise them and give them good values, and I didn't have that. I don't want that for my son though. I want to give him that. I want him to see that as a single mom, as a strong female, you know, you can do whatever you want. I want to be that example for him so that when he grows up like, oh, my mom, I want him to say good stuff about me. I want him to say good things and positive things. And I want to be one of the reasons why he's successful as a man. I want him to say, man, my mom is nothing like her. I love her to death. She's strong. She's beautiful. She's smart. She's intelligent. She's all of these things that that she embedded in me to be, you know, to be great. So I just feel like, you know, at the end of the day, the question, my stance is just know who you are. Get to know yourself. Take a moment to get to know you. Everything around us in this generation I had one girl tell me, okay, I'm going to say this. I had one girl tell me, I actually work with her. She said, oh, your hair is pretty. What kind of hair is that? I said, weave. I don't know what kind of hair this is. I'm not concerned about that. I just feel like the reason why that bothered me is because I feel like we're concerned about the wrong stuff in this generation. That was the point of that. Like, to me, hey, girl, I bought it. I don't know what kind it is. It's going to come off one day. It's going to be in the garbage. It's just weave. So my point is that why is that important to us? Why is so many things that are like the latest song on the radio and what kind of weave you got and the latest styles and all that's cool, but you have to focus on the more important things in life. Like, my biggest thing now is I'm looking to invest in stocks and bonds. I'm looking to, I'm opening my son a bank account. He's 13, so he can start saving his own money, and that, you know, I can invest in buying a home and these kind of things. There's a status that says that African Americans are 10 times less when it comes to our households, how much we make in our households. We make 10 times less as any other culture, especially the white culture. We make 10 times less than them. So to me, that bothered me to know that we're that far below. And that's because we just don't focus on our futures enough. It's all about the now with us. So I just think that we have to start focusing on the future and focusing on our children's future and not just right now. Because right now is not going to be here forever. You have to think about what's going to happen next. So.
You said so many things I would love to have conversations about. So this old lady will be taking you to dinner.
Ooh. Well, I got a good thing.
And on that, in terms of what advice I would give regarding leadership. We're running over time?
Yeah, we want you to answer another question,
Oh.
so we can get to some of them. So could you go to another question that you may have?
Okay.
So how do you balance your personal life and your professional life?
They're all the same. No, I mean, I'm just gonna keep it real for me. What I do is my ministry and it's my life. And it's just I have boundary issues, and because of that village thing, and that they're all my kids, and I do a program that deals with young people, and all of it just kind of connects, and I don't do really well with the separation. So let me just say that, because my young people will tell you they're my babies. I tell them all the time when they get involved with me. Now just remember, I'm gonna be in your business when you want me in your business and when you don't want me in your business. So when I roll up on you and I'm in your business, when you're saying, dang, where did she come from? You know what I mean? They're like, and they've even said to me, what of my school life got to do with my personal life? It's not even about that. It's about what your life has to do with my life. And you're in my life and I'm in yours, and it ain't got hours. It don't have school hours or days or whatever. I'm getting ready to call. They know this is just who I am.
But I think they should, excuse me, I think that they should understand, because I know her personally. And she works with a lot of youth that I was talking about earlier. She works with those youth that have those challenges. When I said 67%, 39%, 90%, she's working with those kids I was talking about. And so that's why the boundary issue, I understand why she has those boundary issues, because she cares enough about if they're homeless, if they're not eating. So to me, When
If
you,
they need a little
that's
discipline.
right. That's stepping on the boundaries. That's saying, that's just my job. I can't help it. I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then that's
They
that.
need to
That's,
understand that piece.
okay, well, thank you for jumping in and saying that, but that's really what it is, and the young people that I deal with refer to me as Mama Shy, and I don't take that lightly. When you say mama to somebody, for me, the community that I grew up in, that's a form of honor. That's a badge of honor, you know, and so they all, you know, we all have biological mothers, but I'm a community mother, and sometimes I stand in for the biological mothers, and sometimes I stand with the biological mothers, and sometimes I done had to go up against them. That's what I'll do if I feel that is necessary for the well-being. Like I said, their well-being is my purpose, and that's what I do. And so that question, I guess I wasn't the right person to really answer that.
Would you like to give any more remarks about
Well,
that?
you know, I'm very troubled about the time, so I thank you all, and I am always available. And I think we have grown up as a people where there isn't a separation of professional life and personal life. We've had to blend them.
Yeah.
I learned that from them. They were my
So
example.
thank you very much, and good luck.
Thank you.
Next year, I'll have a
There's one of my teachers right there, Mahmoud. I mentioned your name today just now. That's one of my
She
great
mentioned
teachers
you
right there.
earlier about a positive influence in her life.
That's one of my teachers.
Thank you, sir.